COP 28 conference. That's the topic today for the gals. Paulina is going to lead us through it and tell us all about what this means to the energy sector. So let's get busy. The opening bell. Good morning, ladies. Hello, Paulina.
Good morning. Hello, Lex. Hey, Molly.
Hello. How are you? Look, that's my new, it's my new stunt. It's a dog barking in the background. So we're going to go with that. Look at Molly and her new digs, the Tradier Hub digs. I love it. Very cool. So much newness around the holidays. I love it. So
I think Boo is just concerned about the environment, and maybe we should address Boo's concerns.
We should maybe consider it. I think she's whining about energy, some sort of energy deprivation. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure. Okay, really, this is fun. Okay, Molly, you're gonna take over now because I'm gonna mute myself and go grab this dog. So we're gonna talk about 28 and get it done.
Okay, Paulina, give us the lowdown. What do we need to know about this? What's top level, and then take us deeper?
Yeah, so why don't we start by defining what COP28 is? It sounds like an acronym. It could be a variety of things, but what it actually is, it's an annual conference. And it happens every year where negotiations are held between businesses and organizations. They come together to talk about climate change. So it's a climate change conference. So you have all these world leaders, business leaders, they come together and they want to solve climate change. And there have been 28 COP conferences so far. That's why they call it this year's COP28. There's been a lot of media hype around this. There always is every year during this event. This year's location, though, got a lot of attention because it was at the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. And so climate activists, they found this location to be pretty controversial because the UAE is a petrostate. And they also were kind of iffy around the president of COP. So the president of COP, his name is Sultan Al Jaber. He is the CEO of Abu Dhabi National Oil. So they're wondering, why is a CEO of an oil company president of this climate change conference? So there is some of interest here. So that's kind of like the setup of what COP is and what the climate activist issues were surrounding the conference.
Okay, so something's not adding up, and we're going to figure this out. And maybe it's just a component of, if you hang out with the cool kids, maybe you become cool. Maybe it's that. Maybe he's re-PRing himself, but I don't think so. So let's not get reductive. Let's go dive deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. While I was dealing with my barking dog, I heard most of this, and I heard that the chair this year, the head of it is an oil producing state, like somewhere in the Middle East. And there's some controversy over that, which I think is really hilarious. I love it. Because how are you going to get a private jet to this conference if you don't put oil in it? It's crazy. But anyway.
I am going to say WEF at some point in this conversation. I'm going to say World Economic
Forum. Let's go, CT. Let it rip.
Okay, go, Paulina. We're getting out of your way.
All right. So was there a deal reached at this thing? Sorry, Paulina. Was there a deal reached at this? What do they do? What's the idea here?
No, that's a great question, and that's what people wanted to know. And actually, on the first day of the conference, the leaders, they actually came together and they agreed to fund what's called this loss and damages agreement to countries that are kind of at the forefront of climate change issues. These are countries that are most impacted by climate change. So they actually reached a historic deal that's going to provide countries with $100 million. The U.S. donated $17.5 million, and people were kind of snuffing at this little donation, as they considered, because they think that this is kind of like a drop in the bucket, because there needs to be a lot of development and investment associated with these new sustainable and renewable energy investments to combat climate change. And they're actually saying, it's going to cost around $400 billion in order to address these damages annually.
Who is they? Who's quantifying that? Just curious.
So there are a variety of different climate change activists, analysts, researchers that are in this business that are kind of, according to their analysis, these are what their estimates are.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first big takeaway on the first day. But another takeaway was the climate deal that was actually approved. So for the first time in this COP history, the global community agreed to transition away from fossil fuels. But it didn't include any wording around the phasing out of fossil fuels. And that's a particular issue that these climate change activists have. So while there was progress made from the climate change activist perspective that the transition away from fossil fuels is apparently happening, there wasn't any concrete wording around when that's going to be phased out.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
No, Molly, you go, because I love your new background. And if you're talking, people are looking at you. Wait a minute.
Oh,
we're not talking. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I was just going to say, just on while we're talking fossil fuels, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels is a great book. So go pick that up. That's just an alternate viewpoint. So continue, Lex.
No, well, so the activists, you mentioned the activists. So they are pushing a zero tolerance fossil fuel usage. Is that correct, or are they in favor of some bit of it? What are your thoughts there, if you know?
From what I understand, they want to move towards renewable energy the infrastructure, and they're trying to move away from the use of fossil fuels pretty much 100% if possible, because they're convinced that this is what's causing climate change, and the answer to that is renewable resources and renewable energy sources. So the agreement that was reached at the conference this year wasn't enough for them. It didn't go far enough for them from the interviews that I saw, from the articles that I read, and so forth.
Yeah. Okay. So having said that, do you think, I mean, how difficult is it to transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy? Like, it sounds like 100% for the activists to make them happy. And wait, just so we're clear, I'm not sure I want to make them happy at this point yet, but
Do we get to know why?
Yes, I'll get to that in a second.
All right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Continue.
So is it feasible, quite frankly? I mean, look, at anything's feasible in 150 years, and I'm going to be like, wait, did you say 150 years? I said, whew, I thought you said 100 years. Because that could be doable, but none of us are going to be here then. But I'm just curious, is it feasible in the next 20 years ish?
Well, essentially, like you said, nothing is impossible. The thing is, though, we run on fossil fuels. So the majority of energy that is used in our homes and companies, businesses, is fossil fuel based, and governments around the world, it's been said that they're essentially moving too fast in this transition in requiring renewable energies to take the place of fossil fuels. Earlier this year, the UAE Minister of Climate Change said that the phasing out of fossil fuels would actually hurt countries that depend on them for revenue, and that they're not easily going to be replaced with renewable sources. And this is because that the infrastructure is not readily available. There hasn't been enough implementation of these renewable resources, and it's just happening too fast. So basically, the speed of wanting to kind of flip the switch doesn't seem like something that's really feasible, that can happen really quickly, and that's what the climate change activists are trying to push.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, off the cuff, my feeling is that the people who get hurt the most in a total conversion, which I know is really tough to do, but in a conversion are the poorest of people. That's what it feels like to me. They're the ones who get nailed the most, because what is a conversion to renewable going to mean? It's, first of all, it's expensive. We know that as a fact. And then expensive means that only certain people are going to be able to have access to it because of the cost. And the people who don't have means, or as much means, they're going to struggle under a system like that. Now, just so we're clear and you don't think I'm a crazy lunatic right winger. Wait, maybe I am. Never mind. I am all for.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, no, I'm all for trying to figure this out. If you could snap your finger, Paulina, and make it turn into renewable energy, I'm for it. I own an electric car, not because I'm a greenie or anything, just because it's clean, it's easy. I don't have to go to the gas station. You ever get smelly gas in your fingers and then you got to go around like that the rest of the day when you're going to, you can't get rid of it. So I'm happy for that. I hope they do it. However, in true realism, I think it's a stretch right now. I really do. And I think it hurts the poorest people on the planet. I really do.
Yeah, and actually, Molly alluded to this earlier, to the book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels by Alex Epstein. And I looked into what his argument is, and he was essentially saying that by embracing fossil fuels, especially to your point, Lex, in developing countries, fossil fuels are a low-cost form of energy, and a reliable source of energy as well. So that would actually help their economies thrive. And then in Western countries and countries all over the world, we depend on fossil fuels. So given its characteristics, that we would continue to perform well as an economy if we continue in that track. But the reason why we're having these problems like even inflation and rising energy costs is because we're trying to do this really quick transition, but there is no near-term replacement for fossil fuels, and that's what the key challenge is. And so that's what the issue is.
Yeah, let me bring up one more topic before my dog starts barking again. So to me, and again, I'm not a scientist by any stretch, but what I've read and am trying to understand is the replacement energy source. People always point to nuclear energy, which is super clean, super abundant, but there's that little tag with nuclear, the word nuclear. Everyone's like, oh my God, the whole world could blow up. So is that discussed at this conference, a nuclear version of renewable energy? Because that's super clean, super efficient, and abundant. Have they brought that up at all?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if they brought it up.
Yep.
They were more, a lot of attention was brought around some of the controversies that I had mentioned at the top. And I think that kind of got a little bit more attention than anything else. And so I think, that was something that climate activists were more concerned about. I didn't hear much about nuclear side of things.
Got it.
Important to just state that I think, trees breathe carbon. So that's really, it's demonized lately. And I think it's important to understand that if you have a collapsing of carbon dioxide, it reduces the vegetation. And in Cretaceous period, we had the highest we'd ever have. And of course, there's melting that comes with that. But the question is, what impact are humans taking on it? If humans were not on planet Earth, would this evolution still be evolving? Absolutely. So I think it's important to just inform ourselves on both sides. Do we need to make sure impact is healthy? I too drive an electric car, but then you have to think about lithium batteries and all that it takes, and the manpower and the oil to build those cars. So there's a lot of angles. It's not so simple. And it's important to understand in 2019, the World Economic Forum and the UN signed an agreement to accelerate the reset for 2030, and to look into that as well, and to see that there is, when you zoom out, which I love to do, there's always a greater context to these conversations.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to understand the financial impact, as you're saying, Paulina and Lex, to understand and educate ourselves on, find a great geologist that you love. I love Greg Braden. He's so great. He's a geologist, amongst other things. He worked on incredible projects, and he has some great footage out there. And you can also look into the ice cores that really analyze, is this the warmest period that Earth has ever been in? Absolutely not. So we should really look at the whole playing field and then make a decision before just, looking at COP28. And by the way, what does that stand for? Is that
Does anyone know what it stands for? I don't think I know.
Parties? What is it?
Conference of
Parties?
Parties and stuff. I don't know.
What is it, Paul?
So yeah, it literally, that's what it literally stands for, Conference of Parties.
Is it a party? I mean, because they know how to do it back in the Middle East. I don't know.
Oh,
we have to find out.
I thought you guys were joking me. You're not joking me.
No.
Okay.
It's real.
It's
real.
Yeah. I think I had another question. Oh, I know what it is. I had a statement. What about, instead of eliminating fossil fuels, making them uber clean, which the United States is very good at doing, and they have done it. So if the cleaning process of, the exhaust of fossil fuels is very, very clean, which this country has done a great job at, that's got to go a long way too. And it kind of helps the whole part of the equation, in my opinion, right? The poorest, the poor, you don't eliminate them, you make them super, super clean. Do they talk about that at the conference, Paulina, or is it they don't talk about that? Is that a coffee break?
Is that a coffee? Is that a water session?
That's right.
I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about the cleaning of fossil fuels, but that's a really good point.
Yeah,
I feel like it probably has been brought up before, but it might be too much of a logical thing to do.
Yeah, and by the way, our country's great at it. If you read the literature and study it a little bit, we are. I don't think we're the biggest. Well, we might be the biggest consumer by nature, but India and China, they consume a lot of fossil fuels, and it is not very clean, like what we do. So we have science at our back, I think. So I like that idea too. Instead of eliminating them altogether, make them uber clean. I like that a lot. I think it's just a catastrophe if we try to eliminate this. I think so much depends on it. And we say, Molly had a good point. If you make electric everything, guess what you have to use to make electric? You have to use gas and oil and carbon to make those things, right? Or you're going to switch to nuclear, one of the two. So I don't know.
I hate to be a CT scanner, but sometimes I look at ESG, and when you really dive deep into some of these initiatives, you unveil some wild things. And but let it be known, I do think that it's this is a weird thing, and this is sounding reductive, but it's how far removed we've become. That if you go to when you go to order your groceries, I'm in a city, and there's actually, seasonal vegetables. You should actually be eating vegetables per the season that you're currently in, because it interacts with your body, which then adapts to the environment. And so it's really important to, not only be able to name every bone in your body because you wear this thing all day, but how do you interact with nature, and to make sure that we are sustainable. I'm interested. I feel like there's a full circle there with ESG, World Economic Forum, UN, COP28, and how we can still maintain our freedom and evolve in a very educational form, so that we do the best for ourselves, and take that burden of responsibility on ourselves individually. I think that would be a good point. But what do you think financially? Where does this go, Paulina? How does this affect the market, like the decisions at COP28?
Well, going back to kind of what the climate activists were talking about, they've come out and said that the UAE, they used its position as a host country of COP28 to discuss oil and gas deals with more than a dozen countries. And this is according to leaked documents, actually. There are documents that were obtained.
Wait. Is this a Lico's leak?
Well, no, because it's already been reported. There were documents obtained by the BBC that show that the CEO of COP, Sultan Al Jaber, had meetings with government officials and business leaders around the world to discuss fossil fuel deals. There wasn't any indication that he was stepping down, which is something that the climate activists wanted him to do, because, and he didn't do that because he's heavily supported around the world from world leaders. There's also been, you know, I'm sure if you just look him up, you'll see this huge years-long media campaign that's been propping him up as this climate change leader. He's even been on the cover of Time 100 for climate change. So I can understand, you know, from the climate activist perspective, what the, you know, conflict of interest there might be. But those are kind of the uncertainties that are happening behind closed doors. And if, you know, he's kind of using his position to prop up the economy of the UAE and other economies around the world.
How I wonder how those conversations tie into BRICS, the OPEC currency that is underway. There's, you know, the petrodollar, and BRICS, you know, looking to do their currency swap with the central bank digital currency. It's interesting. It's interesting that those conversations are happening now over there with everything that's going on, especially in Israel and with Hamas and all that. Any thoughts on that?
That is
Paulina's hoping I jump in. I'm like,
don't fall into my trap. I'm like,
I have no idea what she's talking about, so I can't say a word to that.
It's not a trap, but it's a dangerous conversation. So don't answer. Just say it's classified.
Don't answer, Paulina.
It's classified.
Yeah, I'll just say that, you know, a general statement. Obviously, the economy is a global economy, and it's all connected. And if there is things happening behind the scenes, then, you know, I'm sure there are multiple players happening in these conversations. I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
That's good.
Good answer.
Good answer, Pauline. I love it. I love it. That's what my kids tell me when I said, "Who ate the raspberries?" All right. So let's let Paulina go, because she's been so nice to be on here for longer than we usually have her. Thanks for coming on, Paulina.
Thanks for
Have a
putting up,
great
guys.
weekend. Love Friday. Wait, this is the Friday edition. That means the holidays are coming. This is so fun.
Great.
Yes. Yay.
Sounds good. I'll see you later, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Paulina.
Bye.
See you. Oh, hi, Ma.
It's a huge conversation to unpack in 30 minutes. So
no, it's hard. And I want to try to get her to 15, but we keep blabbering on, and I get all worked up because I don't want to tell you my real opinion about COP28, which
I think you need to.
No, I don't. Okay. You know how I feel about it.
All right.
Burn, baby, burn.
No, you don't. You do not feel that way. All right.
I'm gonna go. Just let my gas car run in the driveway for about 30 minutes. Just sit there.
You're not that guy. He's baiting you guys. He's baiting you.
I'm kidding. All right, cool. So what else? Anything else, Mal? Do I have to come up with a trade on this for Wednesday's show?
No, week? So we're doing it. Yeah,
not this Wednesday. Next week.
Yeah, if you didn't see it, we also did it last Wednesday. So we reviewed some stocks that are affected by this. So check it out. And that's good. That's really exciting stuff, because it's these massive decisions that are being made really affect the market, and we want to keep our eye on the ball.
Apparently nothing affects the market. It only goes up of late. It's amazing.
Right.
Another big day today. So
I know.
I keep fighting it, but one day I'll be right, I think. But I might be out of money by then. On that note, I'm gonna hydrate. Look at this thing.
All right. I'm hydrating with you.
Oh my God, is it delicious? Okay. Molly,
Cheers,
you have a
everyone.
good weekend too. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
See you next week. And
Hey,
you know,
and if you're loving these shows, click like down there, make your comments. We'll reply to them on shows. Join us on the Tradier Hub. We have amazing
subscribe.
shows.
Ba ba ba.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Hub.tradier.com. We have to start putting banners up for that. We'll get Max to make a banner.
You mean that? You mean this one?
That one. Hub.tradier.com. He can do it. I know he can. He can't type that fast because we're going to say goodbye in a second.
Right.
So yeah, but come join us. It's a lot of fun. All right, Mal, I'll check you out.
Right.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.